Welcome to the Truman Charities podcast. I am Jamie Truman, your host. Over the past several years, death by suicide has been on the rise, especially in young adults. It's overwhelming to think about since most of us are unsure of how we can help people that are struggling, especially since a lot of the times the people that are struggling aren't really vocal about it. I spoke with Bryan Fisher, the co owner of Fish, an apparel company which stands for faith, integrity, strength, and honor, about how his clothing company is raising awareness about mental health. We talk about some very small things that you can do daily to not only help your own mental health, but also help others. Bryan talks about the death of a very close coach and mentor of his, which has inspired him to start this journey to try to help others. And he also has plans for a very interesting app to help bring the community together. I hope that you enjoyed this episode with Bryan as much as I did. Bryan, thanks so much for coming on and talking with me today about Fish. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jamie. Thanks for having me. And just to say something, what you're doing for really the world is really tremendous. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, that's so sweet. So before we get into Fish, which I love this, it stands for faith, integrity, strength, honor. I want to get into all that. But first, I want to know a little bit about you. So tell me a little bit about your background.
So I'm married. I have two beautiful daughters. McKenna grew up in the Princeton, New Jersey area my entire life. Went to West Windsor Plainsboro High School South. Went on to Gettysburg College and came back to West Windsor, and I have been teaching and coaching at my high school that I went to for the last 24 years. And Teaching history, coaching soccer, girls lacrosse, basketball, and
Wow.
it's been great. It's been a great 24 years.
So tell me a little bit about how Fish came about.
So Um, I guess basically Ryan Marone is my partner,
Mhm.
and I have a great opportunity to coach his daughters at Notre Dame High School, where I coach lacrosse. And he came up to me late last spring, had an idea about Fish. I was, a little bit uncomfortable because my name is Fish, but we crafted a really important message and faith, integrity, strength, and honor. And we, basically have a merch company, as the girls call it, as the kids call it, with our proceeds going to mental health awareness. And that's not only for student athletes, but for first responders, for everybody. And it's been a really nice journey the last almost a year together.
Mhm.
And I feel like we, like you, are trying to do a lot of good.
So before we get into your merchandise, and you're wearing some now, so if you're listening, go onto YouTube and check out the hat and the sweatshirt that he's got on. But I want to get into, why are you so passionate about mental health and helping people that are dealing with mental health issues?
Well, I got to play for a legendary coach at my high school growing up. His name was Bryan Maynard Welsh. And, just a fiery, lovable man that, basically the life lessons that we learned playing for him, I've taken with me my entire life. And I had the opportunity to go back, like I said, and work at my high school teaching and coaching. And I had a great opportunity to coach next to somebody that I revered so highly. And in 2010, he, tragically lost his life by suicide. And it's probably not something I talk a lot about,
Mhm.
but in the days and the weeks and even the years after, um, I was really affected by it. And you know, I had to step in and take over a program that he ran for 30 years uh, in a really, really tragic time for kids, for families, for the alumni, for me. And I think I wore a little bit of a mask for a long time because um, I had to uphold what Bryan what our coach had done for 30 years. And I had to be there for the kids and pick them up. I had to be there for those families. I had to be there for the alumni. And all the while, there were many days that I left games and practices and, I cried in my car because I was really struggling. And so, listen, there was a dark cloud for a little while. One of the main lessons that I think Coach Welsh instilled in all of his players, but especially me, was through adversity there comes strength, and so there was a lot of adversity in those first couple of years, 2010 and 11 and 12, and then um, I just wish that that message that he had given to all of us, all his players for 30 years, is something that, that advice he would have taken himself in 2010. And so I went on, I coached for a decade at West Windsor in the program that he led for 30 years. I led it for 10. And then I think my emotional tank was probably empty. And I had an opportunity to go to another local high school and coach. And that's where I've been the last 3 years coaching boys soccer, and I do coach girls across there for a long time. But
Do
uh,
you think that the influence that he had on you growing up is part of the reason, or maybe one of the reasons that you decided yourself to become a coach as well?
without a doubt, I mean, I graduated from Gettysburg College, and I got a degree in political science, and there's probably this idea I was going to go down to Washington and work on Capitol Hill and do these things. And one of the first calls I got that summer was from Coach Welsh. And he's like, "You're born to be a teacher and a coach. I need you to come back." Right. And, you sit there and you're like, all right, this and that. And I remember going out to a local pizza place with him, and we talked for a good 2 hours. And here we are, 24 years later. I'm in education, I'm a coach. And so, yes, a huge influence on me. And
And what
it just that event changed my life in 2010. It really did.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that just for a moment. Did you could you see that he was struggling, or was this something that was that people were unaware of?
So yeah, Coach Welsh is the kind of guy that, walked into a room and you felt like, he was your best friend.
Mhm.
So always the guy that was laughing and smiling. Um, I know he was going through some stuff that summer. But to think that somebody like with his type of personality, uh, could take his own life is something that, never crossed my mind. And I think that's really the basis of what, we've been trying to do, Ryan and I, with Fish the last year, is that everybody struggles at times. And listen, that's a part of life and it's okay. And that, we always have to, I'm wearing this keep going. This is one of our sayings, but something as simple as take care of yourself. Through adversity comes strength. We all struggle, and it's okay, and that's a part of life. And like I said earlier, I was really struggling, and I didn't know how to show it. And so, yes, I think it's all come out of this 14 years later.
Mhm.
That we're still talking about Coach Welsh, and we're still trying to, help people really,
Mhm.
and do good by people, do right by people.
Mhm. So do you think that something that you want others to know is that even though someone may look on the outside, as you said, laughing and joking and best friends with everybody, they may be internally struggling, and you just don't, they may not show it outwardly, that they are struggling.
Yeah, and check on the people that look like they have it all together,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And that's part of our message too. It's not only the people that are struggling, outwardly, it's everybody. We put on these, like I said, I was putting on a mask for a couple of years when in theory it looked like I had it together, but I really didn't have it together.
How did his kids that he was coaching react to this news?
Well, in the moment you have a very tragic and public event, and
Mm-hmm.
then, in education, it's about the kids, right? That's why we do what we do, and teachers and coaches, and 12 hours after an event that changed my life, hey, you're now the head coach. We need to take care of these 60 kids that are struggling, and we need to move on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what, 14 years ago, and it seems, a lot of people don't realize I'm one of the people that drove his car home from the train station that day, and like, then I'm being asked to take over a program that I played in, and coached in, um, less than a day after a tragic event. And um, yeah, I had to put a mask on, and I had to be there for the kids, and I had to be there for all the alumni that were calling in, that were like, "Hey, Fish, you can do this. We're here to help you." And it was a heavy weight. And I think in the moment, you just kind of you roll your sleeves up and you go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish as much as I had a ton of support, I don't want to sound like I didn't. I had a ton of support, my wife and from alumni and family. Um, but I wish I had asked for help more when I was going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to normalize that. It's okay to ask for help. And I want my kids my student athletes that play for me, and I want my own children to know that it's okay to struggle, and that there are people there to help you,
Mm-hmm.
um, everybody. And that's like, I think that's part of like why we have these sayings on our sweatshirts and our shirts, is so that you're reminded of the fact that you matter, right? And you can look in the mirror and you can say, all right, I matter, but people looking at your shirt that says you matter, or you're not alone, all right, maybe they feel the connection to you as a compassionate human to say, hey, I need some help. And I would like to think that the world that we live in, that we can actually ask for help from a stranger or somebody that we don't even know.
So tell me a little bit about how you picked your partnerships.
So we've been able to kind of connect with some really amazing organizations, and Morgan's Message is probably the one that we've connected with most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really involved in the college student athlete world. Morgan Rogers was a Duke lacrosse player that suffered a tremendous knee injury, and kind of lost her purpose when she was in college, and unfortunately struggled in incredible silence, and died by suicide in 2019. And they have created this incredible foundation with the symbol is the butterfly, and it is everywhere in really women's college athletics now. But it is kind of trickling its way down to high school. And at Notre Dame, where I'm the girls' cross coach for the last 12 years, we put together a Morgan's Message Club in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my student athletes run that club, and we've been able to make donations through just some of the things that we do. Like we held a Morgan's Message game last week. We're a dedication game, and the girls, my seniors, talked about what mental health meant to them. And
Mm-hmm.
it was sponsored by Fish, and we were able to make a considerable donation to Morgan's Message.
Mm-hmm.
We've also been able to work with Believe 52, which is Eric LeGrand. Eric LeGrand was a Rutgers football player that suffered a paralyzing injury to his neck and back in 2010. And he runs a foundation where um, he's an amazing human being. He's persevered. He's been able to survive, and his goal is to walk again. And we were able to, at Fish, we're able to bring him in to talk to a school and staff on resilience and mental health. And so we've been able to do a lot of really
Wow.
neat things for student athletes over the
Mm-hmm.
last 10 months, and to give back
Mm-hmm.
through wearing sweatshirts and hats and this and that. But it's been great. It's been a great journey, and we have some incredible partners.
That's fantastic. So tell me how did this come about that you're going to have a catalog of different gear and merchandise for people to purchase? Like how did that come about? And then how did you pick up like these slogans? And then I had mentioned kind of before we started talking. So I went on there and my husband, his whole family, they're all Italian. And he loved that little Italian flag you had on a couple of them. So tell me about that kind of backstory. Like, how are you coming up with these designs and what do they mean to you?
So, Ryan created the fish with the American flag design,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I think he's a great guy. He's got three daughters. He was like, "This is cool. It's something I could wear at the beach. We could sell." And then it just kind of evolved into this mental health message, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having faith not only in yourself but others, and integrity, and obviously I've mentioned through adversity comes strength, and that there's honor in the fight and honor in um, asking for help, and that's okay, right? So we just started thinking, honestly. There's some days where I'll just sit down and maybe I'll see something. I'll watch a podcast, or I'll hear a coach talk, and
Mm-hmm.
or I'll be on some mental health awareness site, and I just see something, and um, if it resonates with me, we make a T-shirt and a sweatshirt, put it on a hat, and
Mm-hmm.
it seems to be resonating with others. And like I said before, when you see it, you know, you can't help but not be inspired by some of the sayings. Keep going is something that, you know, you're a mother,
Mm-hmm.
we talked like over, spring break last month, and how the craziness of maybe what's going on, and just being able to say, all right, I got it. We can do this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we just need a smile, right? A hello, that can save a life. And as crazy as that sounds, it really, really can. And I think, the one thing after being in education for so long and teaching, when I walk through the hallways, I try to make sure that I say hello to kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you just smile at them, hey, or you just give them a quick little hey, um, because there's so many kids, unfortunately, that are struggling, and they need a little bit of a reinforcement. And something as simple as a smile, smiling at somebody in the mall, at Dunkin' Donuts, or wherever you may be, can really change that person's life in that moment. And that's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful when you think about it that way.
Right.
Something as simple as hey or hello, or just a smile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's just, it's fun to sell t-shirts and sweatshirts and hats, and do all these things. But Alessandro was a rower in Italy. Ryan took his family to Italy last summer. He happened to run into this guy that liked the fish thing, the fish
Mm-hmm.
symbol, and he said, "What's that?" And they started talking about it. And then all of a sudden, Alessandro opens up about how he struggled with his mental health when he was a young Olympic athlete in Italy. And all of a sudden, they've connected, they stay connected, which is great. It's a friendship that's, thousands of miles away. But Ryan came home and he made a quick Italian fish, and he dedicated it to Alessandro. And it's just a nice story, a heartwarming story. But at the surface level,
Mm-hmm.
um, they made a connection. They have a relationship now, and that's important.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. You're talking about, just acknowledging someone can make such a difference. And then when you're telling the story, it's just one person asking one question. And then all of a sudden it starts going and snowballing. And then look at that. Look now, you guys have apparel with all like dedicated to him. He's
Right.
really good friends. So just one, question or one how like just an acknowledgement can do so much. So I really love that. What is your favorite item that you have?
So I think it really started with we have a grateful sweatshirt,
Mm-hmm.
and just having like an attitude of gratitude, right? And being grateful. And it's something, we work on our physical health, and, we are starting to, really see the benefits of working on our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to just spend uh, a really small amount of your day, being grateful for just being here, right? Is kind of amazing when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is one little apparel that we have. It's 14-24. It means 14 minutes and 24 seconds. And that is exactly 1% of your day, right? When you think about it that way.
Okay.
So I try to go I call it my gratitude walk, right? I have
Mm-hmm.
like a free period during the day, get outside. I walk for 14 minutes and 24 seconds, and that's 1% of my day, right? When you think about it, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I've made myself 1% better or more grateful or, um, just think about that mentality. You could work out for 14 minutes a day. You could,
Yeah.
go talk to somebody, make sure you call a friend that you haven't talked to for 14 minutes a day. And it's only 1% of your day. And the power in that 1% could really, really be a big
Change your
part of your day.
mindset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I didn't even think about that. That's such a cool, I don't know how you figured that out, but that is so neat. It's interesting when you're talking about it. A while ago, someone had mentioned, you get so busy and you like all of a sudden, and I know as I have small kids, like as soon as I wake up, it's like, boom, you're on and you're all of a sudden just like thinking about all of the things that you have to do during the day. And then I was like, I don't know who I was talking to, but they said, what you should do if you have like a little journal. And so I started doing this and it really helped. And it was like you wake up and you just write three things you're grateful for. And
Yeah.
it could be just the smallest things in the world, just it doesn't matter, but it's something, but it starts your brain out with a positive like thought and
Right.
positive thoughts. So because it's so easy for you to get up and become overwhelmed instantly, about the things that you have to do in your to-do list. And so I mean, being grateful and doing your gratitude walks or whatever it is that works for you is fantastic. So I
Yeah, and a
really
lot of
love
people, a
that.
lot of people struggle to get out of bed. They
Yeah.
really do. And if you try to make it simple, hey, what can you do for 14 minutes that's going
Yeah.
to make you a little bit get you started,
Mm-hmm.
and even if that's the only thing you do in the day, that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. You
I
know.
do. I love that. So where do you see the future of fish?
We kind of started it and it was fun. And
Mm-hmm.
now I've connected with I've made, some pretty awesome relationships. And I want to see it continue. And I want people to feel like, you know, I just like the idea, like I said earlier, that the really, really simple things can affect people, right? It doesn't have to be on this massive scale. While I'm coaching, I know it's important to me. I know the girls and the boys, the student athletes that
Mm-hmm.
are, my players, I know they get a lot of this. So as long as I'm in the field of education, I think this is important to me. Unfortunately, I lost a student athlete 2 years ago. She graduated from college and she died by suicide after college. And I think that was in that moment that I felt this. I've been on this journey myself, but
Mm-hmm.
to lose a player, to lose a young life, uh, you know, we have to be able to say that we can do more, right, in education. And I think as teachers and coaches, it's about the kids, but what can we do more? What's next? We can't only just talk about it. We have to do something about it because, suicide rates among everybody have been just increasing.
Mm-hmm.
And through a merch company, through having opportunities to speak with people like you, I think can really help. And if it helps one person, then it helps one person. If it saves one life, then it saves one life. And you know what? I can go to bed at night feeling pretty good.
Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you guys and how can they, buy your merchandise?
So, fishclothingcompany.com. We got a nice little website. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
Mhm.
Um, TikTok is on its way, I
Are
guess.
you on TikTok?
I'm not on TikTok per se, but as a coach that has like, so many Instagram handles and this and that, hopefully at some point we'll be on TikTok. But
I would love to watch your TikTok.
yeah, I know. Well, maybe I'll send that to my daughters. They can do
Honestly,
that, right?
maybe that'll be their department. I was going to ask you, what do your daughters think about this?
You know what? They love it. They're like, Dad, this is great. And then they're wearing it. And you know, they wear the sweatshirts to school and the t-shirts and um I just hope they're internalizing the message, you know,
Hmm.
ultimately. And that when they're in, you know, maybe they're having a hard time on a test or they're having a hard time with a friend or in a relationship that they can remember that, um, you know, hey, keep going, you know,
Hmm.
it's going to be okay, you know, and so.
So before I let you go, is there anything that we haven't covered that you think someone should know?
So yeah, to kind of piggyback on Fish Clothing Company, I guess.
Hmm.
Ryan, my partner, uh, was talking to his wife after we had a couple months into the company, and she said, "So what's next?" She goes, "Great that you're raising awareness, but what is next?" So we sat down and and he wanted to create this app. It's called the Hey app, Heyy with a semicolon, and we are about to launch it, and it's really simple, like kind of what we talked about. It's just an app on your phone
Okay.
that you connect on, and you're anonymous, and you just hit the button, hey, and somebody reaches out and just starts a conversation with you. Because when you think about it, in our darkest moments, you know, some people and a lot of people, and I already said to you already this morning, they don't feel comfortable reaching out for help, you
Hmm.
know, and for a plethora of different reasons, but ultimately they don't.
Hmm.
And the Hey app, if you just get on the app, it's all anonymous and you just hit Hey, you never know in that moment somebody connects with you, a compassionate human. That's how we look at it. If
Right.
you want to download the Hey app, you're a compassionate human, and you just basically start a conversation with somebody, right? And just let them know that you're listening,
Hmm.
right? And it's so simple. No images, no pictures, no nothing. Just text message, right? Just
Okay.
a, hey, I'm here and I'm
Right.
listening to you, right? And sometimes that's all you need to get through a moment that could be tragic for you in the end.
Hmm.
And it's just a really simple idea.
Yeah.
And I think but I think it's a powerful one because that smile, that hello
Hmm.
can make the difference. And if somebody just feels the need, somebody's just really struggling, they don't want to talk to anybody, but they're on this app and they just hit hey,
Hmm.
somebody will pick up and say, hey, I'm listening. And then you may not even have a conversation with that person, but you may just know that, wow, there's comfort that somebody actually cares that I'm still here. And if the conversation gets to a point where you're really concerned as the listener,
Hmm.
you can hit a button and that conversation will be toggled to the National Suicide Hotline 988, and then you're ultimately turning it over to people that are trained. And listen, and so like we hope that thousands of people download it, and all of a sudden we can create this community of people that are looking out for each other.
So when do you think the launch is going to be? Sometime this year?
Oh yeah, we're hoping within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
That's
yep.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So this will air in a couple weeks. So before I do, I'll reach out just in case because if there is, I'll put in the show notes down if it's available and
Great,
then to make
great.
sure that everyone has a link to download that app.
Thank you so much.
All right, Bryan. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I absolutely love what you're doing. I love the apparel. Ordering some stuff for my my husband
Great.
and my oldest. So I thank you again so much for coming on, and you have some really great stuff coming up in the future. So, and thanks for being such a great coach to so many people. You know, I talk about this all the time, and I just wrote a book on the importance of fathers in society. And when I was talking to a bunch of individuals, and I had a podcast series on this as well, that grew up without a father, a lot of young boys leaned on their coach, and they did say that the coach's influence on them changed their life. So I know you may not see it, but you're really having such a positive effect on so many kids, and you may not even be aware of it, what you're doing, but you are doing such an
Well,
amazing and incredible job.
Thank you. I am grateful for the opportunity that I get to work with all these kids. And I'm really appreciative of having you having me on the podcast. And thank you for doing everything that you're doing. It really is important and special.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much, Bryan. And I'm excited for our apparel to come. Start wearing it around town.
Great, great. Thanks so much for your support.
All right. Thanks. And thank you for everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Truman Charities podcast. Until next time. What a great episode with Bryan. I learned some just small things that we can do to not only help our own mental health, but also help others. So if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to rate and review this podcast on your Apple app or on Spotify. And I read every single review, so they really do count. Also, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. If you'd like to follow us, you can follow us on Instagram at Jamie_Truman Charities, on Facebook at Truman Charities. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Jamie Truman, and then also go onto trumancharities.com, sign up for our newsletter so you don't miss any of our upcoming events, because we have 3 large events per year that we'll love for you to participate in. And if you are a reader like I am and love to read books, please purchase the book that I wrote, Vanishing Fathers, The Ripple Effect on Tomorrow's Generation. You can find that on Amazon or any online bookstore. 100% of the proceeds do go to charity. So far, we've raised close to $80,000 for charity since the debut in March, and that is because of listeners like you. Thank you so much. So I hope you enjoy Truman Charities podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to rate and review our podcast. The reviews really do count, and I make sure to read each and every one of them. And while you're at it, subscribe to the Truman Charities podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Follow us on Facebook at Truman Charities, Instagram at Jamie_Truman Charities, LinkedIn, Jamie Truman, and our website, trumancharities.com. Don't forget to pick up my book, Vanishing Fathers, The Ripple Effect on Tomorrow's Generation, on Amazon or any other online bookstore. 100% of the proceeds from my book will go to charities that serve at-risk youth. Thanks again for listening to the Truman Charities podcast.